So, hello, 2nd of January to the 5th of Tevet. I make these little quick movies for my 4 sons that I'm not with right now. And so we're going to talk about 2 Samuel chapter 12. And so basically, the previous chapter, David saw this woman bathing on her roof, and she was very beautiful, and I guess he had to have her, and he found out that, anyway, her husband was at war fighting, and he ended up sleeping with her and got her pregnant. And, you know, sleeping with a married woman is wrong, and it's actually one of the goes against one of the 10 Commandments. So he found this out, and so he found out who the husband was and had him come in from the war so that he would sleep with his wife, hoping that he would think that the son was the woman's husband's son and not his. But this guy was such a godly man that, because, you know, his soldiers and his guys were out fighting in the war, he refused to sleep with his wife, and he slept on his doorstep. And David found out about it and had him come into the palace and got him drunk so that he would go sleep with his wife. He wouldn't. He stayed in the palace and passed out. So, you know, David's now in a really bad position. Well, he put himself in that position, and in order to cover his sins so nobody would know, he had this faithful man, sent out on the front lines where he knew that more than likely he would be killed. And so this is, you know, you think about it, you know, and if you read the story, it talks about the siege that he had him planned over this city, and he knew that they were going to lose, and he put him on the front line. So not only was he endangering this man's life and trying to murder him, but he was endangering all of these other troops by trying to besiege the city. It said that he knew these archers were all around the gates of this city, and that these people were going to take mass casualties. So he really actually killed a bunch of other people, and even put his own military in jeopardy, and maybe the safety of Israel. So I think that's interesting. So anyway, prophet Nathan came and told David, hey, look, you know, because of what you've done, God's going to take your son. Not only that, but your own family's going to turn against you, and other people are going to sleep with your wives. And this all happened to David. David ended up with his son trying to take his kingdom from him, you know, losing a wife. You know, it was just, but God said, you know, and he told David that, you know, I'm going to do this and not take your life. Well, remember, so there's always consequences for sin. So David's son, that, you know, from the adultery, when he was born, he was sick, and David mourned, and he didn't eat, hoping God would not take his son from him, and God did. And then when he found out that he had died, his son, he stopped fasting, and he began eating, and his royal subjects were like, what's going on with that, you know? Why are you eating now? We thought you'd really be devastated. He said, no, you know, I was fasting and repenting and hoping God would see that and change his mind about taking my son, but now what can I do, you know? And so, you know, I'm going to share something with you boys in my own life for my own sins. My father, your grandfather, has actually tried to imprison me twice. And but both times were unsuccessful. But my family, my sister, I lost a wife to my brother who married her, and I've gone through much of the same things as David, and I have sinned, and I've done wrong, and I believe God is punished me for that. Oh, my coffee's boiling. Hold on. So I'm not totally guiltless, but I'm not going to get into the details, and if someday you guys want to talk about it, we can. But the Bible says that God reproves us as children. If we're not reproved, then we're not really His children. So if there's no correction like a father corrects his son, then we're not really sons. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read real quick. I'm just going to discuss Luke chapter 6, 27 through 49, and it talks about turning the other cheek, and I believe all of that unless your life is in danger. However, it goes on to say, don't judge unless you're going to be judged, all right? And so when we judge other people, that's the same measurement that God uses to judge us. So I've learned as I've gotten older to be very forgiving and non-judgmental. We all mess up. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. And we do have to pay a price for them, but God forgives us, and it's not, like I told you and I showed you where David had the chance to kill Saul and he didn't. We need to forgive others and let God handle those people, and He will. We need to trust Him to do that. And I love you, boys, and you have a wonderful day. Call me.